Hey everyone, this is Sheldon with ESI, and today I want to show you the Excel lookup function. Now there are two flavors of this function. We have the VLookup or vertical, and then you have the HLookup or horizontal. You would use the VLookup if your data is set vertically in columns. You would use the HLookup if your data is set horizontally in rows. Now the purpose of the lookup function is to be able to grab what I will call the subject of the function, look it up in a table of data, and return a value designated by a specific column. I'll show you a real example in a couple minutes. So our first parameter is called our lookup value. This is what I call the subject, and it's going to be used to return our number 48 here. Our second parameter is the table array. It is the data set that's going to be used with this function. You can see I have it running from A4 to D9, so it spans 4 columns. We must make sure that when we're using the lookup that we understand our subject is going to be looked for in the very first column, only. Notice that I have this set from A4 to D9. I never use the column D, so I don't need to include it. I could have just had this run from A4 to C9, but for the sake of completeness, I just included the entire table. Our third parameter is what row we want to return based on our findings. So we have Mary that we're looking for in this set, and we're actually looking, since our set starts at A4, column A, we're going to look for Mary in column A. And when we find Mary, then we're going to bounce over 3 columns and return the 48. Our last parameter is what they call the range lookup. Basically, do you want to find an exact match or a range of matches, I guess, how you can look at it. If I set this to false, it is going to look for an exact match. So if this was Mary 2 or Mary Poppins, and I had this set to false, we would get an error. I'll show you that in a bit. So you set this to true, or you put nothing at all, it will be assumed true, and it will look for an exact or approximation. Set it to false, and it will look for an exact match only. So let's start looking at the live data. So here I'm in Excel, and we're doing the same VLookup. I'm looking for Mary, and because my data runs from A4 to D9, I'm looking for Mary in column A, and then it's going to run over 3 columns to return the 48. If I change this to Matt, for example, then you'll see how it returns the 16. Now realize, because I've set my data to this range, if I was to change the parameter and say, give me column 5, I'm going to get an error, because I'm saying in this 4 columns of data, give me a 5th column. Doesn't make sense. Let's look at the last parameter and change it to true. Changing this last parameter to true allows us to look for approximations as well as exact. So because Matt does appear in here exactly, I get the number 16. Goes over, finds Matt here, bounces over to column 3, and returns the 16. Let's say I change Matt to Maddie. I will get the 16 again, because what happens is Excel will look for the first instance of Maddie, or look for the first instance of where the item in column A is greater than the subject we are looking for. Alphabetically, Paul is greater than Maddie. So Excel goes through the list, sees that Cindy is not greater, Mary is not greater, Matt is not greater, Paul is greater. Since Paul is greater, it moves back up one and then over to column 3 to give us the 16. When I change this to Daniel, what happens is Cindy is not greater than Daniel. Mary is greater than Daniel. So it bounces up one, goes back to Cindy, and comes over to the third column to return the 35. It is best when you're using the lookup to have this information sorted. Realize that this Cindy down here at the bottom will never be able to return the 37. Because when we look for an exact match, we get this Cindy because we start at the top, work our way down. Now let's look for zebra. What happens here, because we're looking for an approximation, if not exact, we'll see that Cindy is not greater, Mary is not, Matt is not, Paul is not, Peter is not, Mary is not. So we end up down here. We go up one, over to the third column, and return the 37. I find that it is best if I can use the lookup function with our data sorted. There's a good chance you're going to get unpredictable results if you have your data unsorted, such as Cindy down here and Cindy over here. Now, you may be wondering, when would I ever want to use an approximation or not an exact match? I'll go over to our grades tab, and you'll see here that I have this again in a vertical order. And what we'll do is we'll put in a grade of 50. What happens is it looks and sees, well, is 0 greater than 50? No. Is 60? Yes. We'll pop up, over, and return the F, because here I've told it use A4 to B9 as my data set and return the second column. I set it to true, so it looks for an approximation. If I set this to false, I'm going to get an error because a 50 does not exist here. Setting it to true lets us get the results that we desire, such as a 75 should return a C because nothing is greater till we get to 80. And we go back one, over two, and return the C. For watching.